Welcome back to another episode of The Contender. I'm Congresswoman Erin Houchin, and this is a podcast where we talk to leaders and lawmakers and everyday Americans. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by a true champion of conservative values, Kelly Loeffler, Administrator of the Small Business Administration. You know her as a former U.S. Senator from Georgia, a successful businesswoman, and one of the fiercest defenders of the America First agenda. She currently serves as the 28th Administrator of the Small Business Administration under President Trump. Kelly, welcome to The Contender.
Well, it's a great honor to be with you, Congresswoman. I'm delighted to have this opportunity to talk about small business.
Well, as a former small business owner, I certainly appreciate what the Small Business Administration does for our job creators around the country. One thing that I want to touch on too, though, is that the Small Business Administration also steps in disasters. And some people at home might not know the role that the Small Business Administration plays in helping businesses recover from disaster. We represent Henryville, Indiana, that had a significant tornado several years ago, and the Small Business Administration stepped in then, and I know that the Small Business Administration now stands ready. What are some of the things that the administration does after a natural disaster?
Yeah, so people probably know the SBA best for its access to capital, to counseling and government contracting, but really a hidden secret is the disaster response. It's really a resilience and recovery agency. It's not direct response, but what we do is provide low-cost loans to homeowners and small businesses to rebuild in the wake of a disaster. And so that we offer those directly. We try to make them very accessible to homeowners and small businesses to get them back on their feet for the long term. Mm-hmm. And we're doing that today in the United States across roughly 1,300 counties. We're serving about, call it at any given time, 2 to 3 dozen disasters. And so we're often the ones on the front line because the SBA is there. Maybe if it's not declared a federal emergency, but a state leader can ask for emergency dollars, and then we'll make that declaration.
Yeah, that is one of the things that I learned in the process. I was working for U.S. Senator Dan Coates at the time, and so I was his staffer on the ground for about 6 months, working with FEMA and the Small Business Administration, helping Henryville and surrounding areas recover. But whether or not there is a federal disaster declaration, the Small Business Administration can sometimes come in with the request of the states to help in a recovery effort, even if the FEMA funds don't come in. Is that correct?
That's right. And we're really the largest lender in these situations. FEMA does an immediate response allocation, generally in the form of a grant, and ours is in the form of a loan.
Yeah, that's terrific. Well, talk to me a little bit about what your experience has been so far. Congratulations on serving as the 28th Administrator of the Small Business Administration. Your background and experience, no doubt, led to your success here in this role. We're very proud to have you serving in that capacity. What's it been like in the transition so far, and what do you think led to your selection?
Well, Erin, like you, I'm a product of small business. I've started small businesses. I think small businesses truly are the heartbeat of this country. And I had a 30-year career in the private sector, which I'm proud to bring that experience, and just honored to serve our 34 million small businesses across this country. I come from a farm family, and so I know what small business means to Main Street, but also being a business leader, I also know that small business really is responsible for the majority of hiring in this country. I know that they're relied upon for innovation and growth, not just on Main Street, but how many large corporations rely on small business to fulfill their own mission. So we've gotten off to a very fast start at the SBA, and we like to say we're moving at the speed of small business. Small businesses can't afford to slow down. They have to do more with less always. When I came into this agency, it was completely off mission. It had been overtaken by kind of the bureaucratic bloat, by politicization, picking winners and losers. The results were abysmal. The lending program had almost been turned into a grant program that was losing money for taxpayers, which normally operates at a zero subsidy by taxpayers. So we got in and quickly started to turn all of that around, and now we're back to rebuilding the agency.
That's terrific. And what a great point that you make when you talk about small businesses. They're the engine of our economy, but they also are the engine for larger corporations. So we have Guardian Bikes in the district. It started as a small business. It's now, I would say, grown significantly. But they have subcontractors and companies that they work with to source some of their materials that are very small businesses, even just a couple of employees. And those small businesses, given those opportunities, can tend to grow into larger companies like Guardian Bikes. I understand you're going to be visiting Indiana very soon.
Yeah, and I hope to visit Guardian Bikes. I can't wait to get over to the district. Absolutely. And you're 100% correct. When I visit defense manufacturers, they talk about the small businesses that make all their component parts. And then I go visit those small businesses. These are small manufacturers, which actually make up about 99% of all manufacturers in this country. The sophistication, the use of technology, what we're seeing happen in our supply chains, thanks to the innovation brought by small business, the efficiency that they bring, is really an economic engine that is unsung in this country.
So the One Big Beautiful Bill we've worked on, what is most exciting to you about what's included in the One Big Beautiful Bill that might be a benefit to our small business owners?
Well, this is the largest tax cut in American history, and this is a pro-small business, pro-growth, pro-worker bill that makes sure what we do is put the power back into the hands of our small businesses, of hardworking American families, and let them decide how to best spend their capital, not the federal government. And it takes on waste, fraud, and abuse, government bloat, but the number one thing it does is it gives the American worker that opportunity to support their small business, to support their family first. If we don't pass this bill, it'll be the largest tax increase in American history. Small businesses will have a 43% tax increase. Their average tax rate would be higher, 20 points higher than what small businesses in China pay the Chinese Communist Party. It would be 20 points higher than what corporate America pays. And it's important to know that we operate in a competitive landscape globally. So this bill is absolutely critical to the survival of Main Street.
Right, and when we were talking about all the provisions in the One Big Beautiful Bill, this tax issue just kept coming up, and the importance of having, this is why it was important to us on the House side to have one bill, because the tax provisions, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that was the first Trump administration, they were so important to building and growing our economy. We have to make sure that we make those permanent. And the failure to do that would result in all of those tax credits and tax cuts expiring at the end of this year, which would be disastrous for the economy. We cannot see, I've heard numbers even up to 68% increase in taxes in some circumstances, and our small business owners can't afford that. The economy can't afford that. So I think it is critical that we get this done. I'm proud of what we were able to accomplish in the House. But now it's over in the Senate, and we'll have to wait and see. We're in wait and see mode to make sure that comes back, and it's something that our friends on our side will support.
Well, and let me just say, you're absolutely right. I'm grateful for the work that you did in the House. Lots of hard work. I spoke with Speaker Johnson last night. I was just in the Senate lunch talking to the Senate now about small businesses. There are so many things here that will unleash this economy. In particular, small business is just spring-loaded to hire, to invest, to grow, whether it's the 23% pass-through deduction, immediate expensing, it's the child tax credit, it's the standard deduction. It's all the things that this country needs for certainty. We know that small businesses today are very optimistic about this country. Their optimism is above the 51-year average of the NFIB survey, but the number one thing they're concerned about now, after 4 years of having number one concern being inflation, thanks to President Trump getting inflation under control and delivering the big, beautiful bill on the promise, the number one thing they're concerned about is getting this tax bill passed quickly so that they have certainty of all those things. And many of them go into effect in 2025 now, and it will impact the third quarter to have that certainty. So it's absolutely vital.
Yeah, and we're counting on just 2.6% growth in the One Big Beautiful Bill. And I think under this economy, under your leadership, and of course the leadership of President Trump, I think we're going to see much higher growth rates, which then can go back to deficit reduction.
Yeah, I mean, no great business cuts its way to greatness. Growth is the missing ingredient in this economy over the last 4 years. President Trump is leading a pro-growth agenda, whether it's deregulation, tax cuts, fair trade, pro-worker agendas that helps people from all walks of life live the American dream. And that's what this bill is about. So I'm incredibly excited and just hope that we can quickly pass it to have the benefit of that for the balance of this year.
Yeah, talk about pro-worker provisions, pro-working family provisions, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. And for our seniors, the tax relief that we've put in there for Social Security, we have gotten a little bit of criticism that we did not do no tax on Social Security, but one thing we can't do in the One Big Beautiful Bill and reconciliation is do anything that is truly involving Social Security. So the tax credit is what we could do, and that's what we have to offset what taxes somebody would pay under Social Security. And so that's an important point that I think has been maybe missed in the conversation, but that's important for our seniors.
Absolutely. Delivering on that, as well as making sure that those lower rates stay in effect. The deductions, the child tax credits, for pro-worker, no tax on overtime. That's incredibly important to growing our economy too. We have a manufacturing renaissance taking place in America. So it's something for seniors, something for workers, something for families, small businesses. That's a pro-America bill.
And the One Big Beautiful Bill encourages investment and expansion. How, in your opinion, will this impact small business owners who are looking to grow and hire others and compete in the global marketplace?
Yeah, this is incredibly exciting to think that we can have 100% expensing effective in 2025 in this tax year. I've walked the floor of manufacturers who have talked about they are ready to purchase that next CNC machine, hire that next worker. When this bill goes through, they have the purchase orders to expand their plant and equipment. So we know that this is a pro-growth bill.
Explain the 100% immediate expensing, how that would work for somebody that is at home that's like, what does 100% expensing mean, and how does that help these businesses?
Well, small businesses operate on thin margins, so any capital cost they might have, a restaurant that wants to buy a new stove, a factory that wants to buy a new CNC machine that's AI enabled, that lets them be more efficient and precise in their manufacturing jobs that they take on, that purchase would be able to be 100% expense, i.e. written off on their tax returns in the current year to give them cash flow. Small business is all about cash flow. And this will enable them to then do more in terms of hiring and investing and having that certainty and that confidence to make that decision, particularly in a situation where they may already have debt on their balance sheet, they can't borrow more. This lets them increase their productivity in a very capital efficient manner. And this is, again, a pro-America provision because we want more manufacturing. We want our main streets to be stronger. And that will happen when we have the incentive to invest, including research and development, 100% expensing returns on research and development. That's our innovation pipeline. You pair that with Made in America, that means we do not have to ship our innovations in research and development over to China to be manufactured. We can make that here. They don't get their hands on our intellectual property, and then they can't exploit it in global markets. That protects it for America.
We know that tariffs have been a question. That's been a topic of conversation around the Hill and at home. Can you talk to us just about how the tariffs are working to protect American jobs, and also how the tariffs will boost U.S. manufacturing?
Yeah, I mean, tariffs, look, when you hear the word tariff, think fair trade. This is President Trump fighting for the American worker and for American industry that had been hollowed out. As you know, you've seen across the Midwest, across our industrial base, losing 70,000 factory, 5 million jobs. This is returning that capability to America. And I've seen it in semiconductors, steel, socks, aerospace, cars. Just ask the UAW why it's so important to have things made here. President Trump is fighting for that. And frankly, no one talks about this, but about a year ago in the Rose Garden, President Biden added more tariffs against China to protect American industry. So this is not a partisan issue. This is a pro-America issue that creates jobs, innovation, industrial strength, and economic growth. And that is why President Trump's tariff strategy is working. We have deals with China, with the UK. We've had talks with Germany, Japan, Italy. People are at the table. They know we're the #1 trading partner. We're the nation they want to do business with. It's just never been asked until President Trump.
It's totally, you're totally accurate. This is never, I studied economics, minored in economics at Indiana University. Nobody talked to me about reciprocal tariffs.
Yeah, well, we need more people like you that studied economics in Washington.
That's right.
Because it's not just tariffs, monetary, but it's non-tariff trade barriers that have been erected against small businesses. Small businesses cannot compete globally. The U.S. Trade Rep put out a 400-page report detailing the non-tariff trade barriers that have eliminated our chance to compete on a world stage. We're getting that back thanks to President Trump.
That's absolutely right. I was with the president. We had some budget meetings over at the White House, weeks ago, and he talked to us a little bit about this idea. And what I tell people at home is that ultimately what President Trump wants is freer and fairer trade for our American companies. This is a truly America First agenda item. The 15% Made in America corporate tax rate. This is all designed to convert the United States from a consumption country back to a production country. And now with 75 countries coming to the table to renegotiate, I think it's been pretty incredible to watch. Do some of our businesses at home want it to come faster? I think that's probably true, which is why I think it's also really important that we quickly get the tax certainty that these companies need. And those two things hand in hand, I think, are going to be just an absolute boon for the economy. I think we'll get it hard charging again. I do think we'll see a golden age back in America of manufacturing, and it's going to be really incredible under President Trump's leadership and what he's led here.
Absolutely. I think the media narrative is that we can't make it in America, but I can tell you, walking 100 different business factory floors, it's being done. It can be done. And this president believes in this country.
And the Small Business Administration is also doing their part to help. You've got recently launched the onshoring portal at the Small Business Administration. Talk to us about the onshoring portal and how companies are taking advantage of that and what you can do to help.
Yeah, so we launched recently the Make Onshoring Great Again portal, which aggregates up about 3 or 4 private sector databases that track American manufacturing across all sectors, producers, manufacturers. And that's really in response to hearing a lot of people say, I would love to have Made in America. I have a consumer preference for Made in America, quality, an IP protection preference. So we made this database available to small businesses who want to source products in America. And it's everything from food to steel to textiles, manufacturing, and it's on the SBA.gov website. Small businesses can access this today. Just jump into the databases, look around for the product or material that you're looking for, and it may be, most likely, is available in America, and it lists over 1 million producers and manufacturers.
You recently visited our Main Street, I would say our Main Street caucus, and you spoke a little bit about the portal and how some companies have reached out and had no idea that they could source some of this in the United States, and that the portal has been extremely helpful in changing their supply chain and moving it back to onshoring it to a U.S. manufacturer. So somebody wants to investigate this, they go to SBA.gov, and there's the, what is it?
Yeah,
Make
onshoring
make
great again
onshoring great
portal.
again.
It's
That's
literally
right.
on the homepage.
Yeah.
You can click right into SBA.gov. Check out the portal, look around. We're actually adding some other supplier resources now, thanks to the demand and the feedback we've had. And so we've really seen thousands of small business already access. And this is just common sense principles that I think the Trump administration does so well in bringing to our roles. We're all private sector people for the most part, who've run businesses, who understand the needs on the ground, and ask let's do something different. Let's bring the resources right up front and make sure we're serving the American people every day.
Well, it's terrific. When you have helped us and our constituents on several occasions, we've also been in contact with the U.S. Trade Representative who has been very helpful anytime we've had anybody ask questions about what is the impact of this tariff, how can we see ourselves to onshoring and getting back to 100% made in America. And you guys have been incredibly responsive and helpful anytime we have needed anything. So I'm grateful as a member that represents, a lot of manufacturing in the state of Indiana. I'm grateful for the responsiveness of you and your staff, as well as the U.S. Trade Representative as we're trying to navigate all of this. It's really been a great partnership that you guys, I think, are working hand in hand. And it's been a relief to us as we are trying to help people back home.
Great. Well, we do have a great Indiana district office. I would encourage small businesses to reach out and see how the SBA can help your small business. And if they can't help, they can direct you to other federal government resources. We're really trying to tear down any barriers in the federal government so that we can better serve small businesses with one voice and make sure that they know that we see them out there and we're trying to serve their needs.
Well, thank you. Oh my gosh, it's been such a pleasure to spend some time with you today. This podcast is called The Contender, and so we like to, you certainly are a contender for championing of the America First agenda under the Trump administration, your leadership as a small business owner, but contenders have the grit and the determination to fight for causes that are greater than themselves. And that's what we like to try to highlight in this podcast, as well as your policy work. So the last question I always ask our guests is, who is a contender in your life and has influenced you? And tell us a story about that person.
Oh, it's a great question. There's so many. I guess, given that it's Father's Day weekend, I want to say my dad, Don Loeffler. He is truly a hero in my life. He's a farmer, a small businessman that really came from very humble beginnings with a high school education, built our farm even bigger, built a trucking company that he started the year I was born, thanks to what he learned in the military. So he's a veteran, and as I see at the SBA, so many veterans bring amazing skills that they start small businesses with, and my dad certainly did that with our farm and trucking company. And his grit, his determination, his caring approach to, obviously to our family, the sacrifices he made 7 days a week on that farm, but also for employees to create jobs in our little small town of 600 people. Him and my mom working side by side together really set an example for me in my life, not just in hard work, in integrity, in faith, and family. And those are the things that continue to ground me. And I'm just incredibly blessed by him and my mom.
Well, it shows. They've done really well. Mom and Dad, you've done really well. Are your parents still with us?
They are. I'll be seeing them on Father's Day.
Well, this is a wonderful way to end the episode with a Father's Day message. And I hope that your parents are watching or will watch. You should be very proud, I'm sure you are, of Administrator Loeffler. We're so blessed to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It was wonderful to be with you all. Thank you. God bless.
To all our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Contender. Don't forget to subscribe, share the podcast, and stay inspired to contend work hard, and have fun. Thank you again for joining us. We'll see you next time.